just coming across as a diva. I think at the time I was smoking a lot of weed, so
oh my God.
So I think the forgetfulness probably came.
No. You know what's hilarious is that you were definitely smoking throughout our interview, and you were in London or UK, and I was here in San Francisco. So it was like 8:30 my time in the morning, and whatever afternoon, 8-hour difference, so 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah, it's a really unfortunate part of the transatlantic. It like works with many American record label people, and it's like because especially LA, and the time difference is like I don't know, like huge.
8 hours.
Yeah, so it's like they'll call me up and they'll be drinking coffee. It's like Monday morning for them. And then I'm just out with a glass of wine and a spliff, and it's like well, it's 8 p.m. here, 7 p.m. It's like I'm gonna do as I do. You know, it's like.
But you know what? That was 2020. We were definitely just winging it, and in theory, I could have waked and baked with you, you know, or woke and woke or whatever.
No, exactly. Well, yeah, it was a crazy time.
But here we are drinking coffee now in the same time zone. How times have changed.
Yeah, I've stopped smoking weed. Like I decided to, well, not decided to, I just woke up one morning and just, as every stoner does, began to like roll the joint and all this kind of stuff. And I just looked at it and thought, you know what, I don't fancy it today. And ever since, it's been maybe like 2 or 3 years now. I still, you know, if a buddy's smoking a joint, I might just have a little bit. But there's something about it. And it's like, so like you said, we're drinking coffee and I don't even smoke weed anymore.
Really? You just quit cold turkey?
It wasn't so much as quitting. It was just like some funny, like, it was like a light switch just went off in my head. And the thing with weed is like when you stop smoking it, like for like a long period of time, like a year or something, like, and then you have a little bit, you just like,
Yeah. Then all of a sudden that rush comes back. But then I'm sure the tolerance isn't the same either, right?
Yeah, no, exactly, yeah. So like I'm like, you know, I don't know. And it's not like when you're a kid and you smoke weed for the first time and your brain's like, wow, the world is so beautiful. It's more like, the world's so fucking scary. You know? So,
the other side of the spectrum where you're paranoid and everybody's out to get you.
Awful paranoia.
This is like part of growing up anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Happy belated. Yeah. We're doing this like a few days after your birthday.
That's right, yeah, just turned 27. No smoking weed. What else has changed in my life? I'm married now. I'm a married man. So that's changed as well, which is amazing. Thank you so much. Yeah. And, new album like feels really good. It's just like just like really like grown up stuff. Like life's just kind of I've just in the process or have actually just bought a little house, and so I'm doing all the adult things at once. It's kind of I'm going through the wormhole of adulthood.
I was about to say this is coming in a big rush here before you're 30.
It's crazy, isn't it? Yeah. So it was good.
Well, the album's called Rock and Hard Place.
Yeah.
Which is a very curious title.
Sure.
And from what I read and what I've heard, it's basically this encapsulation of your life, the ups and downs. Mm-hmm. As you kind of said, I'm going to paraphrase here, something about the hole that you created for yourself that you're trying to get out of.
That's right. Yeah, totally.
What do you mean the hole? You were on this lovely trajectory, and of course things change and what have you, but you're still doing the thing.
Totally. I think the whole... could be, I think I put a lot of pressure on myself as like as a kid, like as I got this first record, Harmless Melodies, like did really well, and like, you know, signed to like a major label when I was like 18, 19, 20, in that region. I was again smoking so much weed I can't remember what age
you
I
were
was.
12.
But yeah, exactly. I was just saying I was 12. But and then you know, like put a lot of pressure on myself on the music, and like, you know, have this audience and I think, you know, I do have like a natural, like, you know, don't want to sort of blow my own trumpet or pat myself on the back, but I have this nice relationship with music that's like a really like, you know, intimate, special thing for me at least. And it's like, you know, I think I just put myself and my relationship with music through so much like the feeling, the need to like, you know, I don't know, just make loads of money or like have like the best album ever or something like that. And I just kind of tied myself in knots. And I think having the particular kind of voice that I do as well, I guess maybe there was this kind of this thing that was developing, like this like separation between like the kind of music I wanted to write and the natural singing voice that I have, which is the thing that people like, you know, quite rightly, you know, come to my shows for and buy my records for is the voice. And it's like, but then I started writing this kind of stuff that didn't lend itself to like the whoa kind of like big singing. So then it kind of musically, and then in my life, you know, I was just kind of like partying too much, and I was kind of feeling like this like jaded kind of like has-been kind of figure, like I like house parties, like chatting to people and be like, like, oh, you're that guy? And I'd be like, yeah, I'm that guy. And it was funny. I just felt so like old and like forgotten. And yeah, which is kind of crazy. I think, like you said, the hole I dug myself into. I had these kind of misconceptions about what I was and what I was doing. And I suppose like the bedroom pop thing or the Mac DeMarco like lo-fi thing, like was this kind of this huge like thing that was like happening, and then it kind of has petered out and given way to the next wave. So I think I kind of like put myself under this pressure of like, well, what am I going to do? Like, how am I going to, find my space, and like, what am I going to do? And I think that was maybe accurate, like I now like have moved more to the, like just the soul singer kind of like, there's still the experimental kind of flavors in there, but it's a little bit more like down the road and down the middle of the road, and a little bit more like, I guess, more classic and like based around things like Stevie Wonder and like Sly and the Family Stone, which has always, I think, been there in parts of my music and always where I wanted to go. But yeah, so I think, yeah, musically and like kind of like an identity and like all this kind of stuff, and yeah, bad habits, like partying too much and doing all this kind of thing. Like I think I heard like Earl Sweatshirt say in like an interview, he's like talking about, he's like drinking or whatever, and he was saying it's like spent so much time like talking about things rather than doing them. And it's like, I think I was definitely guilty of that. Like I say, like some like jaded old pop star at the house party, just like, oh, you're that fucking guy? It was just like, if I had to encapsulate the last 3 or 4 years, I'd say it was like that. A lot of just like kind of, yeah, feeling like that scene like Leonardo DiCaprio in Hollywood, what's that, with him and Brad Pitt, and they stood outside the restaurant, and he's like, buddy, it's over, I'm a has-been now. And he gets off of the Italian movie, and he's like the Italian Western, and he's like spaghetti Western, and he's like, I'm gonna have to go do that, So
well,
yeah.
It's very interesting because you were on this obviously very steep trajectory. Harmless Melodies comes out in a little while, people are loving it and so forth. You're a young person and you're like, yeah, on top of the world. That's kind of when you want that exploration and grab the bull by the horn, so to speak. And they didn't really give you a fair chance, in my opinion.
Well, it's a funny thing because, like, in reflection, when I think back to that time, like, I was such a kind of like, I've always been quite a meek, like, well-mannered person, but I was very stubborn about the music, like, and like, I suppose, like, people would expect an artist to be that way, but it was more like small things, like the internet has like changed the way people like social media. Like when I did my first couple albums, like social media wasn't part of the music business. It was, but it wasn't in the same way, and it wasn't such a kind of like a business. And I remember like in the first meeting, they got up like a chart, and it was like, it was a social media planning meeting, which was something that I was just like totally thought was just like from Planet Zog. I was like, what the hell is this? And they got up a graph and they were like, so George, when you show your face in a photo, I mean, a lot of this talk now is quite normal because we're used to like the algorithm and all this kind of stuff. Like, but back then it just felt so like, I was like, God, this is rubbish. And I think I said something along the lines of like, I don't care about any of this. I just want to make music. And like, they didn't like that, And there were times where like, I was this 18-year-old who's like done so well that I just was like, I just wasn't like, I in my head, I was like, well, I've got this far just on a tiny little record label in London. Like, why should I play all these weird big games with like photos of my face? And it's ironic because like I was looking at them thinking, my album covers till then, I'd covered my face in all of them. And I was like, well, that was the whole point. So I was like, these guys just don't get it, do you know what I mean? And like, but I think, I definitely think more nowadays, like I said to them, they said, like, oh, okay, so how long do you think the record's gonna be? Like, how many tracks? And I was like, well, maybe like 35.
Oh my God.
And they were like, yeah, so A Day in the Yellow Beat was, I think, 34 tracks long. And they were like, well, we were thinking more 7,
7? So, gosh.
Yeah.
Not so even 10 to 12.
Yeah, and I was like, well, I'm like listening to all this Herbie Hancock and Quincy Jones and like, really far out kind of like 70s jazz fusion. I was like, I think I want the record to sound like that. And they were like, I think the record just sounded a bit more like Gap in the Clouds in a little while. And not that I could even really like make like Herbie Hancock kind of music at the time. It's a mental thing to me to even be saying. But I think the ambition was there to just like basically just learn more about music and write more music and basically play more. Like, so when it did end with Columbia, RCA, like, Sony record deal, I just lived in, in sort of isolation and kind of sat and just like practiced every instrument, you know, like my bass, improved my bass playing and like my keys, and then when years later would like start trying to like, you know, play some session gigs with some artists that I know in London, so I started playing bass like in the background, doing backing vocals and things like this, which like, most people don't even know I did that. And I was just doing things like that because I kind of wanted to prove to myself like I could be a session musician, or I could write a bit of like jazz fusion and things like that. Because I think like, yeah, I had a little bit of like, not imposter syndrome, but like a sense of like I'm famous for this, like, you know, it's like kind of, you know, groovy pop music, but like, man, I could do something else as well. Like I'm self-taught, but I could play a little bit of like jazz fusion and things like that. So I had all these like kind of points to prove and like bugs to bear, which is like super not conducive to a major label deal. You know, you're supposed to waltz in and be like, all right, fellas, let's all go right to the top and like fucking open a bottle of champagne and cheers my glasses to like the next yacht I'm gonna buy. It's like, whereas I was sat there going like, have you guys ever heard Herbie Hancock?
Right.
So that was, you know, that was obviously not gonna work out in reflection. And like now I'm much older, like it's nearly 10 years or something, like, so like I can, yeah, with an adult perspective, I can see that how it wasn't very logical. Like
it wasn't
the formula to success. Put it that way.
Right.
It was
These are good life lessons.
I wanted people to think I was clever. Do you know what I mean? And like, so yeah. But yeah, so yeah, and then now I weirdly I see this new record as kind of what I wanted that Sony album, A Day in Yellow Beat, to be. Like in my head, like this record is kind of like me righting the wrongs of that, because I love listening to that record. It's like a really fun album, but it definitely wasn't like, you know, the bullseye that I wanted in terms of like the sound and what I wanted to achieve. And like, I think this record is very much more like, to my mind, it is like the sort of the execution done properly of A Day in Yellow Beat, but obviously different subject matters, different, you know, life experience. But yeah, so I'm very proud of, and I feel like I kind of like, hopefully like unlooped myself, like I was in a kind of a bit of a loop, like I was describing all these kind of different feelings of like inadequacy or like confusion about myself and what I'm doing with the music. And I feel like I've hopefully like pulled the tail up, you know, the needle out of the thread, and it all can like relax and like, you know, go back to sort of how it should be.
Yeah. The sonics are fantastic. I love Sharon. I'm sure you've heard that from many people.
Yeah, thank you, man.
But you're also definitely in a new space in terms of sharing your feelings and very personal.
Sure, yeah.
With Shoot Me With Your Love Gun, for example. I mean, the title is pretty much evident into how you're feeling.
Yeah.
But a track like Glitter and Gold speaks to what you were just talking about.
Yeah.
With the expectations of pleasure and hedonism, and then all of a sudden finding out that's not really what it's all about.
Yeah, absolutely. Like something in the last 4 years, like I'm proud of the music I've done since the Sony record, but like I kind of got a little bit insecure about saying what I'm actually thinking, you know what I mean? And this record, I've like, you know, grown up, and I'm like, you know, let me tell you what's going on. Do you know what I mean? It'd be a little bit more like honest, or like a little bit more like biographical, and you know what I mean, more like my early music, which was extremely, I was about to say, extremely honest.
Weren't you? Like, you came like, out that way.
Exactly.
It's really interesting how you kind of circled back.
In so many ways, I kind of just like closed off and shriveled up, and like, you know, it's like doing too many drugs at the time, and like kind of like just not really embracing like the art in the way it should. But having said that, at the same time, I was doing so much like development of like my skills, you know, so it was like, you know, I was getting better, but like the music was becoming worse, if you know what I mean. So, it was like a funny thing. Like when I see like, say like the audience like online saying nice things about this record, I'm kind of responding to this album more so than maybe the slightly off the wall stuff that's been happening in the last few years. It's like, I'm still like, I feel like starting again. I feel like I've like, you know, I was 16 when I started, I'm 27 actually now, but I feel very much like I'm chapter 2, page 1, you know, and I'm reading the first few lines. So it's like when people say something nice, I've kind of, you know, I used to be like really cool and like not read comments and things like that, but like now I think I'm like trying to get back on top. I think like, you know, at the moment that I think this record really starts to pass through hands and word of mouth, and then also like when we're back on the festival circuit, I think I'll then go back to being an actually cool guy. But for now, I've kind of like I've kind of reverted into like this kind of sad like reading. Did you say this guy said it's his favorite album this year? It's like I used to be like, you know, I don't know, like
now you're the old guy. You're like, remember when I used to be cool?
Yeah, I used to like fly to like LA and like hang out with like all the best guys and just be like, I don't read the fucking comments. I'm not a loser. And then now I'm there like, oh, this guy likes it, you know?
Yeah, right.
So yeah, I think, you know, it's like, yeah, it's just been a humbling, you know, sort of, you know, few years.
When the year started, everybody was reminiscing back to 2016, how great it was.
Yeah, they were.
Did you partake in that?
Yeah, I didn't post the story, but like I did. Well, you know what? I said this to someone the other day. It's funny. It's like when everyone was posting that, like me in 2016 thing, I was like, I don't have to post anything because every time I open my phone, I see a fucking picture of myself when I was 20, when I was 16. You know, so. Yeah, that my whole life is just looking at this fucking 16-year-old. You know?
Right. And but, trying to get back to it in some regards.
No, exactly. It's like, it's crazy. Like, you know, people do the 10-year ago picture thing, like, and it's like, they're like, look at me then, like, and it's like, I have to do the same thing every day, and I look at this kid, and he's like such a confident fucking, you know, like force of nature, and he's also so fucking skinny as well. He's literally like a bone. And I look at myself now in the mirror, I'm like big beard, and I'm like, whoa. So yeah,
no, you look fantastic. Come on.
Man. Well, I'm trying my best. But yeah, so the waistline has increased. But
please.
It's all part of it, isn't it? Yeah. But
welcome to married life.
Yeah, but exactly. Yeah. But the breadth of knowledge and wisdom hopefully has increased, at least you know, adjacent to the waistline. Yeah.
Well, I don't see it. Yeah. The musical chops are there, and obviously you definitely stepped up your game and
that's lovely. Thank you, dude.
In this album. Beautiful. It's just fantastic. Can't wait to hear it performed live.
Yeah, beautiful, man. No, thank you. Yeah, it's a real pleasure. Like, yeah, we're very excited, and I think it's the beginning of the next chapter for me. So I'm very excited to see where it goes. And yeah.
Good luck on the rest of the tour. Great to see you.
Beautiful. Thank you, man.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Didi.
George, aka Yellow Days, right here on B-Sides.